My mother declared, "This trip isn't about you," as she swiped my card for every dinner, every excursion, every manufactured moment. So I nodded, packed my things silently, and locked the account during lunch. By evening, her card was declined, and the hotel key stopped working. Hey, Reddit, before we jump in, I've noticed the channel's losing some steam. Subscribing is the best way to keep this community thriving. It's free, fast, and makes a real difference. Let's get to the story. I didn't even want this trip. When my mom proposed a lavish European adventure as a family bonding experience, I was skeptical. We hadn't been a real family since I was 16, when she split from my dad and transformed into someone unrecognizable. Gone were the cozy movie nights and waffle weekends. She started chasing glamour, new partners, and social media clout. Somewhere along the way, I became less her daughter and more her personal ATM. Still, guilt is a cunning manipulator. So when she called last spring, gushing about a 2-week escape to France and Italy, I reluctantly agreed. She swore we'd share the expenses. I arranged the flights, booked hotels, and linked my travel card for convenience. I should have seen the red flags. By the second day, the pattern was clear. Every cafe we visited, my card. Every museum tour, my card. Even her designer handbag from a chic shop in Nice, billed to my card. Whenever I questioned it, she'd dismiss me. "Stop being so stingy," she'd say, sipping wine she'd never pay for. "This trip isn't about you, not about me. I was the one who spent hours mapping out our plans, ensuring we had decent places to stay. I took leave from work and shuffled deadlines to make this happen. She didn't even bring her own card. She just used my travel wallet like it was hers. By day 4, I was furious, but I kept it inside. I didn't want to make a scene in Florence's streets. I told myself I'd address it at the hotel. When I tried, she laughed it off. "You're so dramatic. Can't you just be thankful? Most daughters would kill for this time with their mom." Most daughters don't have moms who treat them like a free buffet. I wanted to lash out, but I didn't. I stayed quiet, watching her strut in her new silk dress, smug and unburdened. It all came to a head at lunch in Rome. We were at a charming cafe in Trastevere. I barely ate. She, meanwhile, ordered a bottle of wine and 3 appetizers like she was celebrating. Halfway through her second glass, she repeated her mantra. "This trip isn't about you." Something inside me broke. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I smiled, excused myself to the bathroom, and sat on the closed toilet lid with my phone. I opened my banking app, accessed the account tied to the travel card, and froze it. Done. Access blocked. I returned to the table, calm as ever. She didn't suspect a thing, too busy charming the waiter and snapping photos of her pasta for Instagram. We finished lunch, and I even suggested sharing dessert to keep her clueless. Back at the hotel, I packed my bags and checked into a cozy Airbnb nearby, booked under my name. By dinner, the chaos began. Her calls started flooding in at 7 p.m. Missed call, voicemail. "Where are you?" "The hotel says you left. My card's not working. What did you do?" I didn't pick up. At 8:12 p.m., she texted, "Did you lock the account?" "My key won't open the room. What's happening?" I waited an hour before replying. "You said this trip wasn't about me, so I ensured it isn't." Silence. At 10:49 p.m., another call. I let it ring. That night, I slept with a peace I hadn't felt in years. The next morning, I strolled to a quiet cafe near Piazza Navona. Over espresso, my phone buzzed again. She was on WhatsApp now. I'm locked out. I slept in the lobby. My stuff's still in the room. This isn't a joke. It wasn't funny to me either. It was overdue. I replied, "Talk to the hotel manager. They'll charge your incidentals to a new card, like an adult." She didn't respond. That afternoon, I toured the Vatican museums alone. No interruptions, no forced smiles, just me, my music, and the art. It felt like shedding a heavy cloak. That evening, back at the Airbnb, my inbox was flooded with her emails, some apologetic, others guilt-tripping. "I didn't mean it that way. You humiliated me. You always overreact. Please unfreeze the card so I can get my bags." I replied, "The hotel will release your things once the balance is settled. Call Dad." Or one of those guys you post vague captions about. Petty? Perhaps. But it was the first time I'd felt a shred of control in a relationship that had been lopsided for too long. She had a knack for turning everything into a trap. If I confronted her, I was ungrateful. If I pulled away, I was heartless. If I gave in, she took more. There was no winning. Until now. The strange thing is, I didn't relish cutting her off. It wasn't satisfying like revenge should be. It was quiet, almost mournful, like abandoning a book you've struggled to finish for years. But it was necessary. I spent the next few days exploring solo. I took a pasta-making class in Tuscany, rented a bike in Lucca, joined a wine-tasting group with strangers I met locally. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying her entitlement. Still, I wondered what she was doing. Had she sorted it out? Gone home early? Or was she still in Rome, searching for someone else to cover her meals? I didn't plan to speak to her until I was home. Then came the message that shifted everything. It arrived 3 days later as I packed for a train to Venice. Subject: I'm in the hospital. Text: I collapsed outside the train station. Mild dehydration and exhaustion. I'm fine, but I could use someone here. Please. I stared at the screen, torn between skepticism and that old pull of duty. Was this a ploy? Another manipulation? Or was it real? Despite everything, a part of me still cared. That was the worst part. No matter how many times she used me, belittled me, or rewrote reality to fit her narrative, I couldn't erase 30 years of instinct in a week. I called the hospital. She was admitted, brought in after fainting near Termini Station, treated for dehydration and stress. She'd listed me as her only emergency contact, so I went. I expected to feel anger or smugness when I walked into her room. Instead, I saw how fragile she looked. My mother, always bold, unyielding, in charge, lay in a flimsy gown under harsh lights. No makeup, no confidence. Just exhausted. She looked at me like a lost child. I didn't know who else to call, she said, her voice thin. I sat beside her bed, silent at first, watching the IV drip. You didn't need to call anyone, I said finally. You could have just brought your own card. Her lips twitched into a faint smile. That's fair. I wasn't trying to hurt you, I said. I just hit a limit. You treat me like a bank account. You say things like, this trip isn't about you, while living off me. I had to take control, or I'd lose myself. She nodded, eyes welling. I know. I take and act like it's fine. I don't even know when I became this person. I do, I said sharply. After the divorce. You didn't want to be a mom anymore. You wanted to be worshipped. I became your prop, or your funder. She didn't argue. After your father left, she said softly, I felt invisible. Not just as a woman, but as a person. Like I wasn't worth anything unless people noticed me. You were growing up so self-sufficient. Everyone was moving forward and I was stuck, unexciting, broke. So I chased things that made me feel alive again. Luxury, trips, attention. You leaned on me, I said, until I buckled. She exhaled shakily. I'm sorry. It wasn't a fix. I wasn't sure I even trusted it. But it was the first time in over a decade she'd apologized without deflecting blame. I stayed for an hour, brought her water, helped her connect to the hospital Wi-Fi to call her insurance. I gave her cash for a taxi when she was discharged, but I didn't unlock the card. She didn't ask. That night, I caught the train to Venice, alone. It felt right, like ending a chapter that had dragged on too long. The last 2 days of my trip were the best. I wandered the canals, took photos I kept private, bought a small glass pendant from a local artisan. It was serene in a way I hadn't anticipated. Quiet, restorative. When I flew home, I braced for a dramatic confrontation at the airport. There was none, just a text, hours later. Thank you for coming to the hospital. I've hurt you a lot. I'll pay back what I owe. It'll take time, but I will. I promise. I didn't reply immediately. Days passed, then a week. Finally, I wrote, start with your share of the trip. I'll send the details. The rest we'll figure out. Change is more than words, and that was it. She paid me back over the next 4 months in small, steady payments. Never late. I didn't ask where the money came from. I didn't care to know. We talk now, but sparingly. Boundaries have replaced guilt. I don't pick up every call. I don't agree to every plan. If she mentions another girl's trip, I'll smile and say, go ahead, just not with my money. Here's what no one tells you about toxic parents. Sometimes they don't change. Sometimes they shift just enough to make you lower your guard. But if you're lucky, really lucky, they get the message before it's too late. And if they don't, freezing the card is just the start. This time, I won't be the one paying for her lessons.